Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the English Daily Book Summary YouTube channel. In order to not stop learning, listen to an English book summary every day for free.
Anna Abraham, The Creative Brain, Myths and Truths. You've got to suffer for your art. Creativity lives in the right side of the brain. You need extraordinary intelligence or an intoxicant-induced altered state of mind to unlock your creative potential. These persistent beliefs about human creativity aren't simply myths to be debunked. They're windows into a deeper understanding of how creativity really works. By examining what's true within these age-old beliefs, neuroscientist Anna Abraham uncovers surprising insights about the creative brain that will transform how you think about your own creative potential. A new approach to old myths. There are lots of myths around creativity and the artist's brain. For example, the right brain is creative, the left brain is logical, or artists must suffer for their art. Or, to take it even further, that creative genius requires madness. These ideas are so deeply embedded in our culture that they feel like universal truths. But reality, as neuroscientist Anna Abraham reveals, is far more fascinating. Think back to the Renaissance, when artists were seen as divinely inspired, touched by God, or possessed by demons to craft their art. In the Victorian era, creativity became linked to madness, and its twin, genius. By the 1960s, popular culture had neatly divided the brain into creative and logical halves, with artists encouraged to bypass their logical brain to unleash the source of their creativity. Each era created its own myths about creativity, and each contained a grain of truth. Take Leonardo da Vinci as an example. He is often portrayed as a solitary genius of staggering creativity and vision. While his talents were extraordinary, he actually ran a busy workshop, collaborating with other artists and apprentices. His creativity emerged not just from individual brilliance, but from active engagement with others. This reveals an important truth hidden within the lone genius myth. While creative insights can appear in moments of solitude, they're often built on foundations of collaboration and exchange. Neuroscientist Abraham encourages this balanced approach to examining our beliefs about human creativity. Instead of simply declaring these myths either right or wrong, she uncovers why they emerged and what they can teach us. When you look at the belief that artists must suffer for their art, for instance, you find evidence that some forms of emotional sensitivity might enhance creativity, but not in the dramatic way often portrayed in movies and books. This new approach can help you understand creativity as it really exists in your brain and body. It builds a richer portrait of how creative thinking actually works. You'll discover that creative ability isn't simply housed in one brain hemisphere, isn't guaranteed by intelligence alone, and isn't dependent on suffering or altered states. Instead, it emerges from complex interactions between different brain regions, life experiences, and deliberate practice. And these insights don't just satisfy our curiosity, they help us better understand and nurture our own creative potential. After all, creativity isn't just about genius or madness, it's a fundamental human capacity that we're still learning to understand. From both sides now. You've probably heard that creative people are right-brained, while logical thinkers are left-brained. This idea became so popular in the 1960s that it shaped everything from education to personality tests. But the real story of how your brain creates begins far earlier in history, and it's far less black and white. In the early 1800s, scientists believed different mental abilities were located in specific brain areas, leading to the practice of reading personality through skull bumps. This practice was called phrenology, and while it was eventually discredited, it planted the seeds for understanding how different brain regions contribute to our abilities. The modern right brain creativity myth emerged from groundbreaking work with split brain patients. These are individuals who had the connection between their brain hemispheres surgically severed to treat severe epilepsy. In one famous case, a patient's left hand would unbutton their shirt while their right hand buttoned it up, each hand working against the other. Another patient reported their left hand occasionally pushing away items they were trying to grab with their right hand, as if two different intentions were at war in the same body. Even more remarkably, when researchers showed images to just one side of these patients' visual field, only that brain hemisphere could respond. Show a spoon to the right visual field, and the patient could easily name it. Show it to the left, and they might struggle to name it, but could easily pick it up with their left hand. But this research led to a persistent, oversimplified view of brain function. These cases don't prove that one hemisphere is more creative than the other. Instead, they reveal how intricately both sides of your brain typically work together in creating a seamless experience of the world. In everyday life, most of these patients functioned remarkably well, demonstrating how adaptable the brain can be. Or consider musicians. Their right brain hemisphere might help with melody or emotional expression, but the left hemisphere handles rhythm, tempo, and technical skills. When musicians improvise, both hemispheres work together in an intricate dance. This mirrors the experience of visual artists. While drawing, your right hemisphere might help you grasp the overall shape and emotional quality of what you're seeing, but your left hemisphere helps break down complex forms into manageable parts and maintain technical precision. Like a conversation between two experts, each contributes their unique perspective to create something new. The distinction between technical proficiency and intuitive talent provides another fascinating insight. A skilled painter needs both the technical ability to handle materials and the intuitive sense of composition and color. These abilities don't reside in separate brain halves, but emerge from complex interactions throughout your brain. Most importantly, creativity isn't merely the ability to create, it's also the drive to create. This motivation engages multiple brain networks involved in emotion, reward, and goal-directed behavior. When you feel compelled to write, paint, or solve a problem creatively, your entire brain is participating in this creative urge. The dangers of suffering for art. The idea that creativity requires suffering has caused real harm to countless artists, musicians, and writers over the centuries. You might have heard that Van Gogh's turbulent mind produced his vibrant paintings, or that Sylvia Plath's depression fueled her powerful poetry. This myth is so pervasive that many creative people have avoided seeking help for mental health or addiction issues, fearing treatment might dim their creative spark. This damaging belief took root in ancient times, when creativity was linked to divine inspiration and demonic possession. The Greeks believed artists were touched by the gods, their mental states swinging between divine madness and mortal reason. This idea evolved through history, shape-shifting but never quite disappearing. During the Romantic era, the image of the tortured artist became firmly established, with poets and painters expected to suffer for their art. Modern research tells a different, more nuanced story. Studies of highly creative people show that mental health exists on a spectrum. While some artists have indeed struggled with conditions like bipolar disorder or depression, many others have produced remarkable work while maintaining stable mental health. Even more revealing, research shows that severe mental illness typically impairs creativity rather than enhances it. What scientists have discovered instead is fascinating. Some personalities might be more sensitive to both positive and negative experiences. This sensitivity can fuel creative expression while also making someone more vulnerable to emotional challenges. Think of it like having a more finely tuned antenna. You might pick up more signals, both pleasant and painful. The most compelling evidence comes from studying creative people's families. Relatives of those with certain mental health conditions are often overrepresented in creative professions, suggesting that some traits that increase creative thinking might also, in their extreme form, increase vulnerability to mental health challenges. But crucially, it's the milder expressions of these traits, not severe illness, that seem to enhance creativity. This understanding fundamentally changes how we should think about creativity and mental health. You don't need to suffer to be creative. In fact, taking care of your mental health, whether through therapy, medication, or other treatments, often helps creative work flourish. Just as a musician needs a well-tuned instrument, a creative mind works best when it's healthy and balanced. Disability and innovation. When you think about brain differences and disabilities, you might imagine them as purely limiting. But nature tells a more remarkable story. Just as plants adapt and thrive in challenging environments, the human brain shows incredible creativity in adapting to different conditions. What we often view as limitations can spark unique forms of creative expression. Consider the fascinating case of Derek Amato, who had no musical training before suffering a severe concussion. After his injury, he suddenly found himself able to play complex piano pieces without any instruction. This rare phenomenon, called acquired savant syndrome, shows how brain changes can unlock hidden creative abilities. Similar cases include artists who discovered extraordinary talents following brain injuries, challenging our understanding of how creative abilities develop. Even more intriguing are the enhanced abilities often found in people born with different brain functions. Many blind individuals develop extraordinary musical abilities, including perfect pitch, a rare gift found in less than 1% of the general population. Perfect pitch means that they can identify musical notes by hearing them and sing a particular frequency without referencing an instrument. Their brains adapt by strengthening other senses, creating new pathways for creative expression. The story of Temple Grandin, renowned animal behavior expert and author, demonstrates how different ways of thinking can lead to groundbreaking innovations. Her autism gave her a unique ability to understand animal behavior through visual thinking, leading to humane reforms in livestock handling. Rather than limiting her, her different way of processing information became her greatest creative strength. Artists with various neurological conditions often develop distinctive styles that enrich our cultural landscape. Some painters with certain forms of dementia have shown dramatic changes in their artistic style, sometimes producing more vibrant and emotionally expressive work than before. These cases suggest that changes in brain function can open new avenues for creative expression rather than simply diminishing existing abilities. This understanding transforms how we view brain differences. Instead of seeing them as hurdles to be overcome, we can recognize them as potential catalysts for unique forms of creativity. It's similar to how jazz musicians might use unexpected limitations, like playing in an unusual key or with fewer notes, to spark new creative directions. These insights remind us that creativity isn't about having one kind of brain, but about how uniquely your brain adapts and responds to the world. Every brain is different, and these differences can become unexpected sources of creative strength. Beyond intelligence. You might think that high intelligence guarantees creative genius, or that you need mind-altering experiences to unlock your creative potential. These two persistent myths about creativity reveal something fascinating about how we misunderstand the creative process. Consider the remarkable story of Lewis Terman's study of genius. In the 1920s, Terman tracked over 1,500 children with exceptionally high IQs, expecting them to become history's great innovators. Yet something unexpected happened. While many led successful lives, none achieved the groundbreaking creative achievements Terman anticipated. Even more telling, two future Nobel Prize winners, William Shockley and Luis Alvarez, were tested for the study but weren't considered smart enough to make the cut. This reveals a crucial truth. Intelligence and creativity overlap but aren't the same thing. You need some baseline of intelligence to be creative, but beyond an IQ of about 120, higher intelligence doesn't predict greater creativity. Instead, other factors like curiosity, persistence, and willingness to take risks play more crucial roles. Similarly, the myth that altered states enhance creativity also falls apart under scrutiny. While many artists have claimed psychedelic experiences sparked their creativity, research tells a different story. The immediate effects of such substances often impair rather than enhance creative thinking. What's actually happening is more subtle. Some people find that these experiences change how they see the world afterward, indirectly influencing their creative work. More importantly, the most productive creative states don't come from external substances, but from focused engagement with your work. Consider the flow state, where you become deeply absorbed in a creative task. Unlike drug-induced states, flow combines heightened awareness with purposeful action. Musicians, artists, and scientists often describe achieving their best work in this state of focused immersion. The real key to creativity isn't found in exceptional intelligence or altered consciousness, but in the ability to engage deeply with your chosen field while remaining open to new possibilities. Great creators combine knowledge with curiosity, technical skill with playful exploration. They work within constraints while imagining new possibilities. Understanding this helps free you from limiting beliefs about creativity. You don't need to be a genius or seek artificial inspiration. Instead, creativity flourishes when you combine your unique capabilities with dedicated practice and genuine curiosity about the world around you. In this Blink to the Creative Brain by Anna Abraham, you've learned that creativity emerges from the intricate dance between both brain hemispheres, not just the right side. While some creative people experience mental health challenges, suffering isn't necessary for creativity. In fact, well-being often enhances creative output. Brain differences and limitations can become unexpected sources of creative strength, as seen in cases of acquired savant syndrome and neurodiversity. Most surprisingly, neither high intelligence nor altered states guarantee creative success. Instead, creativity flourishes through the combination of knowledge, curiosity, and dedicated practice, making it an achievable human capacity rather than a mysterious gift. Okay, that's it for this Blink. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please take the time to leave us a rating. We always appreciate your feedback. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next Blink.